Have you ever drawn a human body and felt that it didn't look good, disproportionate? It clicked for me a long time ago. At the time I must have been 18 years old, 18 turning 19. And that's when I bought a really cool book, and I only bought this book because I suffered a huge disappointment. But that's a story I'll tell at some point, not now. But this book gave me guidance on this matter of proportion and such. So I want to talk a little about this thing of proportion now. I've already made a drawing here. I'll even trace over this female body of a woman. Here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And here I'll use half a measure. So the measure is 1 head. I'll use an ellipse. This here is a head. A female body, I'll make a slimmer neck. Here is the torso. This torso will be very important in the near future when I talk about this. But just so you have an idea, I'll mention some basic things about this proportion. I'll just finish tracing with the pen. I'm not too concerned at this moment with details and such. My idea here is different. Just simulate a bit of hair here and such. Hair. So, look here. Here is a head. In this book I read, later I'll mention the author and make a very special reference to him. I'll say it now, Vita Paradi. He's a guy, a very nice person, but so this here is a head. The second head, 1 measure, 2 measures, is the line that marks where the breasts are. Or if it were a man, the man's nipples. The third head, 1, 2, 3, is the line where the navel is. The fourth head, and this is fundamental, is the line where I had forgotten what I was going to say to avoid. Which is the human genitals of the woman here, right? And here is the lower part, which I will talk about in the future in more detail. But the fundamental thing is up to the genital line here. 1 head, 2 heads, 3 heads, 4 heads. The hand will always be on the lower line. The hand is a bit smaller than the basic measure, which is the measure of the head. So, the hand is a bit smaller, and so on. I made 3 women, 1 very much to the side, 1 less to the side, and another very frontal, very front-facing. I also made a man, a male, let's say. And I was impressed the day I discovered that a line. The pen is acting up. 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines. Look here. 1, 2, 3. The side view, I was impressed how here I make a single line. And look closely at how we start to build a body. This works for women too, women and women. So, 1 head, 2 heads, 3 heads. Here is the navel, 4 heads. And then, the lower part also continues. I won't place the hand here. I wanted to make a cut to show. So, 1 head, 2 heads, 3 heads, 4. The pen is failing. 5, 6, 7.5 heads. So, both man and woman, 7.5 heads. This one here I did from the side. The woman I did, she is frontal. But basically that's it. I wanted to start with a very basic drawing, but also very conservative. A thing of rules, of demarcating boundaries. Here, it goes up to here, it goes up to there. But I want to show that it's simpler than that. My struggle will be to show how simple drawing is. Not exactly how simple it is, but how fundamental it is for us to try to discover how to simplify drawing. So, oh, my little magazine is here in front. It's been 35 years since I made this magazine. It's a comic book magazine that I called the Metallurgical Comic, and it's almost 40 years old. So here there are human bodies here in a fight. So I've been doing this for a long time. Alright, except that, as I said, it can be simpler than it seems. I exaggerated the simplicity here, and I made 2 H's. The letter H, which are what is an H? 2 vertical lines intersected by a horizontal one. In the case of the H and the human body. I want to make 2 vertical lines of the same size. And right in the middle, I make the horizontal one. So, this measure here is the same as this one here. This one here is the same as this one here. Right, I placed an observation here on the side. I'll return to it more calmly when I talk about the human hand. The hand is below the waistline. That's it. So, here, the genital line, the hand will be a little below. The size of the hand is a little smaller than the size of a head. Alright? So let's continue. Oh, I made a very big simplification of a hand seen from the front, like this, when placed frontally. But I think on the next page I'll show this more efficiently. Look here. 2 lines. 1 here. 2 others here. So, 1 size, same size. This one goes up to the halfway point, and you can see the pencil here, how I already start, or how I can start to define a hand further. Alright? But that's something we'll talk about further ahead. Continuing, I want to talk about the H, which are these 2 vertical lines intersected by a horizontal one. In pencil, I did it here. I'll highlight it with this one, which is basically the middle, the genital line. And this thing is very simple that I do here. So, this one here I'll call the shoulder line, alright? The hand would be below the central line here. If I turn it a little, as you can see here, I already start to create with a certain ease, with a certain flexibility. This ellipse I placed was a little big, it should be a little smaller. So, this H, I'll even play here by turning it a little forward. I'll divide it in 2. Look here, folks. I improvised, and I'll place this hand here on the waist. Alright, this here I just improvised now. I hadn't thought of it. It's good. I suggest now that we start making these HS in a very free way. Here is a chubby H. Look, a chubby H if you follow what I said. So far, placing the hand below the central line. You'll make a slightly fatter person. More obese, I don't know how to say it. But they will be proportionally the same as a thin person. What I mean is the following, it will only widen. But you'll have to observe these measures. And here, almost a person with hands up and such, starting from the H, alright. Continuing. Look here, then I played even more. I made a guy watching football, and a guy going over there. Okay, all with an H. Oh, okay, here I did, and on the side I made a figure based on what's here. What happens here is the following, you make a pencil mark, and then you erase it. And then it becomes the beginning of a construction. I made a guy neither very thin nor very obese, with his hand in his jacket pocket, alright. Tie, I'd never put a tie here, but I wanted to put a tie on him. Alright, I wanted to, and that's it. I suggest start playing a lot with the H. This H, let's start placing 2 lines. Verticals, and you choose the middle, and make the middle. Here, and start making the shoulder line there. Pull 2, ready. This distance here is the same, not counting the foot. This distance here is the same, not counting the head, alright. The line, the hand is below the central line, and then start playing. This small H, or these 2 small vertical lines. Small, this larger one and this much larger one. That's proportion. So, this same little figure you'll see here. This other one that's here, and this other one that's here. This one is much smaller because it is much farther away, this one a little bigger and this one quite bigger. Look, it could be the same body, it could be the same body because we kept the same proportions. This matter of cutting the middle, this matter of cutting the middle, so proportion is that, right? Here I played with a freer hand, making other H letters. I always come back to talking about playing, to train the hand, tame the hand, straight letters. I made a curve just to contradict myself, but curved letters straight, and so on. Warm up your hand whenever we start every day to play at drawing. Look how interesting I find this here. There are things we discover, and we become very happy with the discovery. This here is a man, right? Then, this line of the torso, very simplified. I think we have to simplify even to give ourselves the right later to make it more realistic and such. If that's the case, Sometimes it's interesting to maintain simplicity, but look at these two lines here. These two lines here. This here is a male torso. This here is a female torso. What happens is that if you turn this male one, this female one that is here, which is more open at the bottom, and here is the genital line. If you turn it, it becomes a male one. Alright? Simple as that. Of course, I exaggerated. I'm trying to demonstrate this. Oh, okay, look here. It's very rigid, but why don't we start playing at loosening up the hand? Alright? So, this line of the torso here, look here, this loosening up I did here, which I had already done here. This here is very close to us making a construction, I don't know. More artistic, freer. I don't know. It's very close to that. I even surprise myself. I do something so I can talk. And then I get surprised about why I did that. But here I wrote oh, okay. Forgetting the H a bit. It's time. We'll consider more this matter of two lines and the middle here. Alright? And it's very Oscar, isn't it? This thing here, this very straight thing, like that Oscar statuette and such. But we can start to loosen up more. Put it vertically, like this, so people can see. Oh, like this, that's it. We can start to loosen up more. Look, since I also have an overhead camera here, look here. This thing of measurements. From here to here. I'll call it the upper arm. This here is the forearm, so this here is the upper arm, I don't know. But from here to here is the size of a head. Because it's the size of my head. I discovered that my extended hand corresponds to the size of my head. It will vary from person to person, but I discovered it. So this measure of my head I can say it's the size of one head. From here to the shoulder line is a little bigger. Alright? Okay. Okay. We continue. Let's proceed. Bravely. Oh. Okay. Here I did something very quickly. Look here. The middle is here. The middle is here. It's just that normally people wear the belt a little above the central line. Of course. Some people wear it, I'll do it here. Some people wear it way up high and it's nice, you know? A person wearing it way up high like that and such. My grandfather used to wear it like that, and I thought it was cool. Okay. Spontaneous ocean, my loved ones, so it's good. This one here I don't see much. But look here. I do and do. It's advice I give. Play. Okay, I'm getting to a point here now where I will do. Oh right, here there are several small things that I do while training on a sheet of paper. I use one side, I use the other. But I want now to dare a little. And I made some landscapes. This one here is a more conservative one. This one here. This painting here that I made, I want to put a man here. Insert a man into this landscape. It would be a little more conservative and such. This one here. Oh, a bit more cubist perhaps, which I use, right. But using the same elements. A sky that enters, a rock. Stones here, all right? And the one I like the most, which is much bolder, which is much more cubist perhaps, which are mine that. In a much more courageous way. Mark the vegetal element. The rocks all right? All of this here. All three. The three paintings. I made them starting from a marking which is this one here. So, when we talk about painting, I will use this here to talk about painting. But just so you have an idea that there is a path, all right? Here I played even more. It's the beginning of the beginning of the beginning. This opening of the sky that enters here. Then later I'll make a marking of rock here, vegetation and such. But that's for later. At this moment, my challenge would be to do. In one of these paintings I made to insert a human figure inside that painting. I talked a lot about the H. Actually, it's 2 lines. Look how I can work on my painting, huh? 2 vertical lines. Here is the midline. The genitals. And here. That is, it has the same measure here. And here I'll make the face. If I divide this upper part here into 3 parts, the face is here, so 1 measure, 2, 3, 4. Here is the line of either the woman's breasts or the man's nipples. Here is the ribcage. The navel is on the first, second, third head. And the genitals are here. Only, I want to make a person here dressed, all right? And we've already come to the conclusion that the hand is on the lower line here. Right, the hand is on the lower line. If I'm going to put this hand behind, I'll put a jacket on. The day we have to draw a muse, we do it at some point. I'll put a jacket on. Look here, if I'm going to put a jacket on here, it's clear that when I do this, the hand that was below this line here, it will be a little above. All right, I make a mark for the hand. The other hand will be a little forward. And here. Then I start to place this person with a jacket. A conservative person with a jacket, I'll put a hat on. All right? Look here. Then I start to build this figure. If this hand is behind, this leg here will be a little forward. So, look here how this figure was beginning to take shape. Only, I came to the conclusion that this head is a bit small in relation to the body. Not that this is a big problem. El Greco in the 1500s. Contemporary without him knowing Shakespeare. or Cervantes. He did wonderful things without following these canons. These measurements and such, okay, but I'll enlarge it here a little bit. And since he's a little fat, I'll add a bit of volume here in the neck and such. The hat is here. Alright. Jacket, but I'll put his tie on. He's walking in the countryside. And I'll put his waistline way up high. Look here, I'll put the line. Alright, I think the basics are here. As I had already made this landscape in the background, I'll add white here. I'll try to erase this here, since I'll be able to. Since this line here is a little forward, that walking figure I erase. I don't need to erase much of what's here above. Why? Because I'll add white here. I'll add white here. And then I'll build this figure here. I think that can be left for later. So, I think that basically at this moment, that's it. Next time I'll paint this walking figure. If you're curious. I think I'll be able to satisfy your curiosity in the next class to show. So, please, subscribe. That's important for us, we're just starting. Subscribe, comment. Comment, but about what? If it's not that, no problem. Leave a like. Leave a like. For that, like, give us a hand. And that's it. In the next class, we'll paint a human body in this little picture that's here. And then